Robert De Niro thought he could walk onto live television and attack two of America's most respected conservative women without consequences. What happened next shocked the entire nation and left Hollywood's biggest star completely humiliated, in what may be the most devastating political takedown ever captured on camera. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss these explosive political moments that are reshaping America. We're bringing you the raw, unfiltered truth that mainstream media won't show you. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. This is the kind of content that changes everything. Picture this: Fox News studio, bright lights blazing, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. On one side, Robert De Niro, two-time Oscar winner, Hollywood legend, anti-Trump activist extraordinaire. On the other side, two powerhouse conservative women, Supreme Court Justice Coney Barrett and former Attorney General Pam Bondi. De Niro walked in thinking his celebrity status and tough guy movie roles would intimidate these women. He was about to learn the hardest lesson of his 80-year life. This wasn't Hollywood. This was real life, and these women came prepared for war. What you're about to witness is the moment when Hollywood arrogance met constitutional brilliance and prosecutorial precision. De Niro's meltdown didn't just go viral. It became a defining moment that exposed the gap between celebrity activism and actual expertise. The stage was set for the political takedown of the decade. Let's understand exactly who was sitting in that studio and why this confrontation mattered so much to millions of Americans watching at home and around the world. Coney Barrett, the woman De Niro was about to underestimate catastrophically. At 52, she's not just any Supreme Court justice. She's a constitutional scholar who graduated summa cum laude from Notre Dame Law School, clerked for Justice Antonin Scalia, and taught law for 15 years before joining the federal bench. She's argued cases that shaped American jurisprudence, raised 7 children, including 2 adopted from Haiti, and survived one of the most brutal confirmation processes in Supreme Court history. But here's what really matters. Barrett didn't get where she is through Hollywood connections or celebrity status. She earned it through decades of legal brilliance, constitutional expertise, and unwavering principles. She's faced down Senate Democrats, hostile media, and political attacks that would crush most people. She's written landmark opinions that will be studied for generations. A Hollywood actor throwing a tantrum? That's just Tuesday for Coney Barrett. Her legal mind is so sharp that even liberal law professors admit her intellectual prowess. She's fluent in multiple languages, has authored hundreds of legal opinions, and can recite constitutional amendments from memory. When Barrett speaks about law, she's not giving opinions. She's stating facts based on decades of study and application. Pam Bondi, Florida's former Attorney General and a woman who knows how to destroy opponents in courtrooms across America. For 8 years, she prosecuted criminals, fought corruption, and took on cases that lesser attorneys wouldn't dare touch. She's not afraid of powerful people. She's made a career out of holding them accountable. Bondi has something De Niro doesn't understand: real-world experience dealing with actual consequences. When she speaks, it's backed by law degrees, courtroom victories, and years of public service. She's prosecuted people tougher than any character De Niro ever played on screen. Her conviction rate as Attorney General was over 95%, meaning when Pam Bondi came after you, you were going down. She's taken on human traffickers, corrupt politicians, drug cartels, and white-collar criminals who thought they were untouchable. She stood in courtrooms facing down murderers and never flinched. She's negotiated with FBI directors, worked with international law enforcement, and built cases that sent dangerous criminals to prison for life. When Pam Bondi talks about justice, she's not reading from a script, she's lived it. Robert De Niro, Hollywood royalty, sure, but politically. He's an 80-year-old actor whose biggest political experience is reading scripts and attending elite fundraisers. Yes, he's got 2 Oscars and a legendary film career spanning 5 decades. He's played mobsters, tough guys, and intimidating characters that made him millions. He owns restaurants, has business investments, and lives in luxury most Americans can't imagine. But here's the problem. De Niro seems to think his movie roles translate to real-world authority. He spent years making inflammatory statements about Trump, showing up at protests, and believing his celebrity status gives him political credibility. He's made threats, used profanity on live television, and acted like his fame makes him an expert on constitutional law and criminal justice. The truth is, De Niro's political knowledge comes from the same place as most Hollywood activists: emotion, not education. He reads talking points, not legal briefs. He memorizes scripts, not constitutional amendments. He's lived in a bubble of celebrity privilege so long that he actually believes his opinions carry the same weight as expertise. He's about to learn the difference between playing smart on screen and actually being smart in real life. This wasn't just celebrity drama. This was about whether Hollywood elites could continue attacking conservative women without being challenged. It was about constitutional expertise versus celebrity opinion. It was about real accomplishments versus manufactured fame. Millions of Americans were watching to see if these accomplished women would let De Niro's disrespect slide, or if they'd show the country what happens when you bring movie scripts to a constitutional fight. The battle lines were drawn. Hollywood arrogance versus legal brilliance. Experience versus celebrity. And De Niro had no idea what was coming. The Fox News studio felt electric as Sean Hannity introduced his guests. The lighting was perfect, the cameras were rolling, and millions of Americans were tuning in for what they thought would be a standard political discussion. You could sense something big was about to happen. De Niro sat there with that familiar smirk, the same one he'd worn in countless interviews where he attacked Trump and his supporters. He was wearing an expensive suit, his hair perfectly styled, looking every inch the Hollywood star. He thought this would be just another easy win against conservative women, another chance to lecture America from his position of celebrity privilege. Barrett sat composed and professional, her judicial demeanor calm but alert. She'd been in far more hostile environments than this. Bondi looked ready for battle, with the focused intensity of a prosecutor who'd just been handed a case she knew she could win. "Ladies and gentlemen," Hannity began, adjusting his tie and leaning forward with obvious anticipation, "we're joined tonight by Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, former Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Hollywood legend Robert De Niro to discuss the current state of American politics and justice. This should be quite the conversation." The camera panned across all three guests, capturing the tension that was already building. De Niro was fidgeting slightly, clearly eager to start his attack. Barrett and Bondi looked like two fighters who'd studied their opponent and knew exactly how this was going to end. De Niro didn't wait for pleasantries. The moment he had the microphone, he launched his attack with the arrogance only a Hollywood elite could muster. "Let me be clear about something," De Niro started, his voice carrying that gravelly tone that made him famous in movies like Goodfellas. "I'm here because I'm tired of watching this country get destroyed by extremists, and I'm especially tired of watching smart women like these get used as puppets for a dangerous agenda." The studio audience stirred. Barrett and Bondi exchanged a quick glance, the kind of look experienced professionals share when they realize someone just made a massive tactical error. De Niro wasn't done. "Amy, Pam, you're both intelligent women. I've got to ask, how do you sleep at night knowing you're enabling fascism? How do you justify destroying women's rights, attacking democracy, and turning America into some kind of theocracy?" The audacity was breathtaking. Here was an 80-year-old actor whose biggest life accomplishment was pretending to be other people on camera, lecturing a Supreme Court justice and former Attorney General about law and politics. But De Niro was just getting warmed up. He leaned forward, pointing directly at Barrett. "Amy, you sat in that confirmation hearing and lied to America about Roe v. Wade. You destroyed 50 years of women's rights. And for what? To please your extremist handlers?" The studio fell silent. This wasn't political debate. This was character. Assassination on live television. De Niro had just accused a sitting Supreme Court justice of lying under oath. Then he turned to Bondi. And Pam, don't think you're off the hook. You've spent your career as Trump's attack dog, prosecuting innocent people while letting real criminals walk free. You're both disgraceful examples of what happens when women sell their souls for power. The mask was completely off now. De Niro wasn't making political arguments. He was launching personal attacks on two of the most accomplished women in American public service. His voice was rising, his gestures becoming more animated, like he was performing for the cameras. I've played tough guys my whole career, De Niro continued, his arrogance reaching peak levels. But the real villains aren't in my movies. They're sitting right here, pretending to be public servants while they tear down everything America stands for. Barrett and Bondi sat there, completely composed, letting De Niro dig his own grave with every word. They knew something he didn't. When you're dealing with actual legal expertise and prosecutorial experience, celebrity tantrums don't work. The tension in the studio was unbearable. Hannity tried to interject, but De Niro kept going. I want America to see what these women really are. Extremist politicians hiding behind law degrees and judicial robes. They're more dangerous than any criminal I ever played on screen. That was it. That was the moment De Niro sealed his own fate. He had just called a Supreme Court justice and former Attorney General more dangerous than criminals on live television. Barrett and Bondi remained perfectly calm, but something had shifted in their eyes. The professional courtesy was gone. These weren't random political attacks anymore. This was personal disrespect of the highest order. And Robert De Niro had just picked a fight with two women who had spent their careers destroying people who thought they were untouchable. The audience was buzzing. Social media was already lighting up. And De Niro? He was sitting there with a satisfied smirk, thinking he'd just delivered a knockout punch. He had no idea that Barrett and Bondi were about to show him the difference between playing tough and actually being tough. The escalation phase was complete. The destruction was about to begin. What happened next will go down in television history as one of the most complete demolitions of a celebrity ego ever captured on live TV. Amy Coney Barrett spoke first, and her voice carried the quiet authority that comes from years on the highest court in the land. No raised voice, no dramatic gestures, just pure, devastating intelligence. Mr. De Niro, she began, with the kind of calm that makes smart people nervous. I appreciate your passion, but I think there might be some confusion here about how our constitutional system actually works. She paused, letting that sink in. Barrett had just politely told a Hollywood legend that he didn't understand basic civics. You mentioned my confirmation hearings and Roe v. Wade. Since this seems important to you, let me explain something about constitutional law that might not have made it into your movie scripts. The audience was dead silent. Barrett was about to give De Niro a constitutional law education on live television. As a Supreme Court justice, I don't destroy rights or create rights based on personal preference. I interpret the Constitution as written. The Dobbs decision didn't ban abortion. It returned the issue to elected representatives where it constitutionally belongs. That's called democracy, Mr. De Niro. Perhaps you've heard of it? De Niro's smirk was starting to fade. This wasn't going how he expected. Barrett continued, her tone remaining perfectly professional while delivering intellectual devastation. You accused me of lying under oath during my confirmation. That's a serious allegation, Mr. De Niro. As someone who's spent decades studying constitutional law, clerked for Justice Scalia, and taught jurisprudence at Notre Dame, I can tell you that respecting precedent doesn't mean precedent can never be overturned when it's constitutionally incorrect. She leaned forward slightly. Perhaps if you'd spent less time in movie studios and more time studying constitutional law, you'd understand the difference between judicial interpretation and political activism. The first blood was drawn. Barrett had just told Robert De Niro that his opinion on constitutional law was worthless because he didn't know what he was talking about. But she wasn't done. You called me an extremist, Mr. De Niro. Let me ask you something. Which of us has actually read the Constitution? Which of us has spent years studying the Founding Fathers' original intent? Which of us has dedicated their life to understanding American jurisprudence? The studio was electric. Barrett was systematically destroying De Niro's credibility with facts and expertise. You make millions pretending to be other people, Mr. De Niro. I've spent my career actually serving people. You might want to consider the difference. Now it was Pam Bondi's turn, and if Barrett had been surgical, Bondi was about to be absolutely brutal. Mr. De Niro, Bondi began, with the tone of a prosecutor about to present damning evidence. You called me Trump's attack dog and accused me of prosecuting innocent people. That's interesting, because I've actually looked at your record. De Niro shifted uncomfortably. When a former attorney general says they've looked at your record, that's never good news. Let's talk about corruption, shall we? Bondi continued, pulling out a folder that seemed to appear from nowhere. You own restaurants in New York. Tell me, Mr. De Niro, how exactly did you get those liquor licenses? And what about those tax breaks for your film productions? Funny how Hollywood elites always seem to get special treatment from Democratic politicians. The audience gasped. Bondi had just accused De Niro of political corruption on live television, but she was just getting started. You want to talk about attacking innocent people? Let's discuss your history of threatening political figures. You've made multiple statements about wanting to punch the president. You've used your platform to incite violence against conservatives. And you're calling me dangerous? Bondi's prosecutorial instincts were in full display. She was building a case against De Niro in real time. I spent 8 years as Florida's Attorney General prosecuting actual criminals, drug dealers, human traffickers, corrupt politicians, real bad guys, Mr. De Niro, not the pretend ones you play in movies. And in all that time, I never once threatened violence against anyone. The knockout punch was coming, and everyone could feel it. You know what's really interesting, Mr. De Niro? For someone who claims to care so much about justice and democracy, you sure seem comfortable with political intimidation. Tell me, how many times have you used your celebrity status to threaten people who disagree with you politically? De Niro tried to interrupt, but Bondi wasn't finished. And let's talk about your business dealings, shall we? Nobu restaurants, film productions, real estate investments, all heavily dependent on the same political system you claim to despise. Funny how that works out for you. Now came the moment that would break the internet. Barrett and Bondi exchanged a look, and Barrett delivered the final blow with devastating simplicity. Mr. De Niro, you've spent this entire interview attacking our qualifications, our integrity, and our service to America. So let me ask you a simple question. What exactly qualifies you to lecture us about law, politics, or public service? The studio was dead silent. I clerked for a Supreme Court justice, taught constitutional law, served as a federal judge, and now sit on the highest court in the land. Pam prosecuted criminals and served as Attorney General of one of America's largest states. We've dedicated our lives to public service and constitutional principles. Barrett's voice remained calm, but her words were absolutely devastating. You've dedicated your life to playing pretend and making money. So please, enlighten us. What gives you the authority to lecture actual public servants about how to do our jobs? De Niro's face was turning red. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Bondi delivered the killing blow. The only person who's destroyed anything here tonight, Mr. De Niro, is you. You've destroyed your own credibility by attacking 2 women whose accomplishments you couldn't achieve in 10 lifetimes. The studio erupted. The audience was on their feet. And Robert De Niro, he was sitting there completely speechless, looking like a man who'd just realized he'd brought a water gun to a nuclear war. Barrett and Bondi had just done something unprecedented. They'd used intelligence, expertise, and facts to completely demolish a Hollywood celebrity's political credibility on live television, and the best part, they'd done it with class, professionalism, and devastating effectiveness. Robert De Niro had been exposed as exactly what he was, an actor with opinions, trying to debate actual experts. The destruction was complete. What happened next broke the internet and changed the political landscape forever. Within minutes of the show ending, social media exploded like a nuclear bomb. The hashtags Barrett Bondi destroys De Niro and De Niro meltdown were trending worldwide before the closing credits finished rolling. The clips spread faster than wildfire. Barrett's calm constitutional explanation got 2 million views in the first hour. Bondi's prosecutorial takedown hit 3 million. But the moment that really broke the internet was the final exchange where they asked De Niro what qualified him to lecture them. Twitter was absolutely brutal. Robert De Niro just got schooled by two of the smartest women in America, and it was beautiful to watch. When you try to debate a Supreme Court justice and former Attorney General, but you're just an actor, De Niro really thought movie fame would intimidate actual legal experts. This is embarrassing. Barrett and Bondi just showed America what happens when intelligence meets arrogance. R.I.P. De Niro's credibility. Conservative media went absolutely wild. Tucker Carlson dedicated an entire segment to it the next night, calling it the moment Hollywood's political influence died on live television. Ben Shapiro's analysis got 5 million views, titled, How Two Conservative Women Destroyed Hollywood Activism Forever. But even liberal outlets couldn't ignore what had happened. CNN's legal analyst admitted, whatever you think about their politics, Barrett and Bondi are undeniably accomplished. De Niro looked completely out of his depth. MSNBC ran a segment, asking, should celebrities stay out of complex political debates? The memes were absolutely savage. Someone created a GIF of De Niro's speechless face with the caption, when you realize acting tough isn't the same as being smart. Another showed Barrett and Bondi as superheroes with the text, Constitutional Law and Criminal Justice versus Hollywood Activism, no contest. The impact on De Niro was immediate and devastating. His publicist released a statement trying to walk back his comments, but the damage was done. Several upcoming interviews were quietly cancelled. Entertainment Tonight ran a segment asking, has Robert De Niro's political activism hurt his career? More importantly, this confrontation marked a turning point in American political discourse. For years, Hollywood celebrities had been making political statements without being seriously challenged on their expertise or qualifications. Barrett and Bondi had just shown the country that celebrity opinions don't carry the same weight as actual knowledge and experience. Conservative women across America felt empowered. Social media was flooded with posts from female lawyers, judges, prosecutors, and public servants sharing their own stories of being underestimated by people with less experience but more fame. I'm a prosecutor in Texas, and I've been lectured about criminal justice by people who've never set foot in a courtroom. Thank you, Amy Barrett and Pam Bondi, for showing us how to respond. As a female federal judge, I deal with this constantly. Watching two brilliant women destroy celebrity arrogance was therapeutic. The Republican Party immediately seized on the moment. Campaign ads were cut within hours, featuring Barrett and Bondi's responses, with text overlays reading, "This is what real expertise looks like, and conservative women, accomplished, intelligent, unstoppable." Donald Trump, predictably, weighed in on Truth Social. Amy and Pam were incredible tonight. They showed America what happens when real intelligence meets fake Hollywood activism. De Niro got destroyed by two amazing women who actually know what they're talking about. So proud. But perhaps the most significant impact was on future political debates. The Barrett-Bondi takedown became a template for how to handle celebrity political activism. Instead of engaging with emotional arguments or personal attacks, they had used credentials, expertise, and factual knowledge to completely neutralize their opponent. Political strategists immediately recognized the formula. Stay calm, cite qualifications. Ask about expertise and let the facts speak for themselves. It became known as the Barrett-Bondi method and started showing up in political debates across the country. Entertainment industry insiders quietly admitted that the confrontation had changed the game. One Hollywood agent, speaking anonymously, said, This is going to make our clients think twice before weighing in on complex political issues. Barrett and Bondi showed that expertise actually matters, and celebrity status isn't enough anymore. The long-term implications were staggering. Political shows started booking more actual experts instead of celebrity guests. News programs began asking tougher questions about qualifications when celebrities made political statements. The era of unquestioned celebrity political activism was effectively over. 6 months later, Barrett gave a speech at the Federalist Society where she reflected on the confrontation without mentioning De Niro by name. We live in a culture that often confuses fame with authority, volume with validity, and passion with expertise. But in the end, truth and constitutional principles don't care about your box office numbers. Bondi, now a regular on political shows, became known for her ability to destroy unprepared opponents with facts and prosecutorial precision. She started teaching seminars called How to Win Political Debates with Intelligence Instead of Insults. As for De Niro, he largely retreated from political commentary, focusing on his restaurants and film projects. When asked about the confrontation in a later interview, he said simply, "I learned something that night about knowing your audience and understanding when you're outmatched." The Barrett-Bondi destruction of Robert De Niro became a defining moment that showed America the difference between celebrity activism and actual expertise. It proved that intelligence, preparation, and real accomplishments will always triumph over fame, volume, and arrogance. And for millions of Americans who had watched Hollywood elites lecture them for years, seeing two brilliant conservative women turn the tables was absolutely priceless. This wasn't just a political debate. It was a cultural moment that reminded everyone that in America, what you know matters more than who you are, and expertise trumps celebrity every single time. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss these incredible political moments that are reshaping America. Share this video with everyone who needs to see what happens when real intelligence meets Hollywood arrogance. Drop a comment below and let us know. What was your favorite moment from this epic takedown? Was it Barrett's constitutional education or Bondi's prosecutorial destruction? We're building a community of Americans who want the real truth, not Hollywood propaganda. By subscribing, you're joining millions of patriots who refuse to let celebrity activists lecture us about topics they don't understand. This is just the beginning. We've got more explosive content coming that will blow your mind. Stay tuned for our next video, where we'll reveal which other Hollywood celebrities are avoiding political debates after seeing what happened to De Niro. We've got inside information about which A-listers cancelled upcoming political appearances because they don't want to face the Barrett-Bondi treatment. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. It's going to expose the entire Hollywood political machine. Hit that like button if you enjoyed watching expertise triumph over celebrity, and share this everywhere. The mainstream media won't show you moments like this, but we will. Thanks for watching. And remember, in America, what you know will always matter more than who you think you are.